You're listening to the Outstanding Life Podcast with your host, Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy. As a motivational speaker, Johnny D impacts audiences around the world with his message of living the outstanding life. He's a best-selling author, MC, and two-time Grammy-considered artist. This podcast is a place where Johnny D can introduce you to his outstanding friends and share funny, interesting, and heart-provoking stories. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. Here comes your host, Johnny D.
Hey everybody, I'm Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy. Welcome to 2023. I am sitting here with my good friend Joe Downing. What's up, Joe? How are you?
Not much. Glad to be here, Johnny. Happy New Year.
I'm glad that you finally got a day off work. That's what I'm happy about.
Yeah. Me too.
And we got my good friend Bill Melbach. What is going on, guys?
Hey, Happy New Year.
I tell you what, it is so nice being off for one and being able to share the platform with you guys. So I appreciate the day after New Year's, you guys are here hanging out, you know, talking about this past year and talking about the future, man.
All right. Well, thanks for having us. And nice to meet you, Bill.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, too.
Guys, we're going to jump right into this. I don't know what 2023 is going to be like for you guys, but we do know what 2022 was like. So
Yep.
I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm gonna start off. I have a couple questions here. What would you try if you knew that you could not fail in 2023?
Well, one thing that comes to mind if I couldn't fail would be skydiving.
Whoa. Are you serious, Joe?
Yeah. So I like adventure, right? I would love to try skydiving, but my insurance policy, my life insurance policy, would preclude my wife from collecting the policy should I die while skydiving.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm not going to do that. That would just be
You know, it's
totally
funny because
irresponsible.
I've asked people
Yeah.
that are, you know, NASCAR drivers,
Yeah.
IndyCar drivers and stuff like that, if they can't do, certain things.
Mm-hmm.
That is literally written in your policy?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You poor guy.
For most policies. They
Really?
Are. Yeah. You can't do that.
I guess I never
yeah.
looked because there's no way I'm jumping out of a perfectly good airplane.
Yeah, but in terms of, like, things that I want to try, most of the time it's that fear of failure that makes it worth trying. You know?
Yeah, but that's not failure.
Yeah.
That's death.
That's death. That's right. Yeah. Well, like I said, that's the only thing that came to mind. You know?
Wow. Okay. Anything else, Joe?
And no, that's the only one where if I couldn't fail, that's what popped into my mind.
I mean,
yeah.
have you looked at the statistics? I mean, most of
it's
them
very
don't
low.
fail.
It's very low that people die, but you can break ankles, lower limbs. Just probably not the smartest thing for me to do with this stage of life. Well, people are still relying on me to a certain degree, right?
Okay. I like that. Bill, how about you?
Well, unlike that, I've got for the people that don't know, I've got a face for radio, so I love the podcast stuff. But I also, you can't see me. I'm a rather large person, so gravity and I don't get along. I would definitely skydiving wouldn't be on my list, but mostly, because of gravity. I don't know. I was thinking about this one, and it's kind of a strange answer, but I would actually learn how to play the guitar, but if I couldn't fail, then I'd get really good at it.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to.
You want to be a rock star?
No, I'd actually like to be one of those guys that stand on the corner and sing. I always admired that.
Yeah.
It's not about anything but that moment
Yeah,
and then singing. And honestly, you like it or you don't, I'm singing. All
right.
Drop $1 in or don't drop it. I'm playing.
Wow,
And I've always
I like
admired that. But also because you're mobile and you could do it anywhere.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. And yeah.
So money would be no object as well.
Yeah, well, I said can't fail. So I wouldn't have to actually get any money.
So I'm just curious, where would you do that at? Would it be here in Michigan in December?
No, I probably would.
Go to Florida.
I would use that to some excuse for vacation. Then I'll go and play fancy corners.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, what would you sing?
Probably some country stuff, and just something that's, obviously acoustic.
Some old Merle Haggard.
I love that, guys. So skydiving, that's kind of crazy. Guys, what would you like your biggest victory to be by the end of this year?
Well,
This is kind of a deep one. I know it's a day after New Year's, but
so for me, that was an easy answer because I've been working on this book that I've been writing for the last few years. And I think I'm in a position where I can say it's a realistic goal to hopefully have it completed by the end of the year.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I set my goal, so I work on it a certain amount per week.
Okay.
So if it's not done, it's not done. I don't feel like I failed, but I'm going to at least put that effort in. A certain amount, X hours per week, every week, and let's see where we end up. I think that's...
Do you have a title for it already?
Yeah, I do. Can I swear on this podcast?
We'll just bleep it out. That's all.
It's a working title, but it's called Wiping in a Rolex.
I like that.
Yeah.
So is it about nursing then?
It's about nursing, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about nursing, life lessons, and I guess in the big picture, what it's really about is a set of lessons from my patients and the circumstances that, have shown themselves to me working as a nurse, and how it fits into the big picture of the pursuit of living a good life.
I love that. How many pages you think?
I mean, right now, I'm probably at like 50,000 words, so it's probably going to be about an 80,000 word book,
How many pages
I'm
is
going to
that?
guess that's 200 to 300 page book.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is like every chapter like a different story
Yeah,
type
pretty
thing?
much. So it's really just an
easy read
series of short essays with life lessons and contemplations, and where does this leave me?
So I'm just curious, how long have you been working on this project?
Well, I've been working on it for 3 years, but as any writer would say, and I don't consider myself a writer, but as any writer would say, the hard part is sitting down to write. So I'll go through periods of 3-4 months where I don't write anything.
Right, yeah.
And I'm going to quit doing that. I'm going to be more consistent with my schedule and, knock this out, because I think I got,
I love the title and everything.
Yeah.
though. I can't wait.
It's more for me
That's a great
than anybody
teaser.
else, because it's just sometimes when you sit down and articulate your thoughts, that's where you learn a lot about yourself. And that's really what it's
100%.
about, is learning about me and trying to develop my own, system, set of rules for living a good life.
Have you ever authored a book?
Never have.
So this
Never
will be your
have.
first one.
Yep.
Let me tell you something. There is something different. You will change as a person just having that word author after your name.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like I've authored 2 books and 5 CDs, and there's just something cool to say.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if 2 people bought it or 10,000 people or 100,000 people. It's just cool to say that you authored a book.
Yeah. I'm doing it more just for self-reflection than anything else, but
You're journaling.
whatever it comes along with it, I'm good with that.
I love that. How about you, Bill?
Actually, this is a little deeper for me. I would like to. I lost my daughter last Christmas, and I'm wanting to set up a nonprofit called Meg's Missions. So by the end of the year, if I could have that set up, and we've done something
Great.
nice for people, that would be
Sorry about your loss.
really
Bill.
good. No, thank you. It's it's
Yeah, that's cool though.
But trying to turn it into something positive, and
That's awesome. So let me ask you this then, Bill. What advice would you like to give yourself as you begin the new year?
Probably the same as I've been trying to help share that my daughter gave to everybody. One is to use hope like a force field. So whatever you're going through or whatever, just lean on hope. And then honestly, because I saw that even though she had cancer, she beat cancer because she just didn't let it get to her. She didn't let it rob her moments. Like even though it took her physically, she just didn't let it steal her mind or soul or spirit or any of that. And then the other thing is just live in the moment. Because that's all we really have.
Yeah.
So,
That's a huge life lesson right there. You have to live in the moment.
Yeah.
Some of us forget so much.
We learned that together because we knew, like, even if it's coming, impending doom is coming.
Yeah.
You're going to get me, but you don't get me now.
Yeah.
So I have my now.
Yeah.
And so we had a lot of nows.
That's nice, and that's nice that she had hope until the end. Man,
Yeah.
I see that so often, and that's so inspiring when you see somebody that they know the end's coming, but they still have that hope, and they still are enjoying each moment they have, even though they might be suffering. And man, that's inspiring.
Yeah, so I'm trying to actually live that out myself because I feel bad now because she inspires me, but so now I don't feel like I live up to.
Well, you're doing your best, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
No, that's great. How about you, Joe? What advice would you give yourself
Well, so
since you're
it's funny,
reflecting?
and I bet a lot of your listeners would say this too, that they feel like they're friends with you, even though they've never met you.
Yeah.
And I'm a podcast junkie, and I feel like I have tons of friends that I've never met that don't even know I exist. But one of the best pieces of advice I heard on a podcast this year was about creating a small identity, which I thought was just brilliant because, so many of us are so wrapped up in our own identities, right? We're the progressive, or we're the MAGA Republican, or we're the Christian, or we're the Muslim, or we're this or that. And it's like, man, I like that idea of a small identity where you really can't pinpoint what it is that I am. And by that, I mean, it's easier for me to have conversations with people of totally different persuasions because they don't really know where I'm coming from. So they're more honest with me.
Yeah.
They're less, afraid to say the wrong thing. And it leads to more interesting discussions, number one. And number two, it makes it easier for me to change my mind about things. Because, like a lot of times, let's just say for conversation's sake, if you're a progressive and you're having a conversation about the minimum wage and you're thinking, that makes sense. But you can't admit it because your team wouldn't allow that.
Right.
And if I want to be on this team, I can't allow that. So not being on a team allows me to change my mind.
I love that advice. And that's something that I've practiced for years. Mm-hmm. If you look at my social media and stuff like that, I do not put stuff out there because I want to get along with everybody.
Right.
But I also want to learn from everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to say, well, you can't think like that because I think like that.
Yeah.
And that person, and it turns into an argument. It's like, no, it's like, I want to learn from everybody as much as, just like having people on the show.
Yeah.
It's like, it's cool to have different perspectives. Mm-hmm. So
that's the way I look at it. But some people might confuse that with if you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing. Yeah. And I don't look at it that way at all.
Right.
I stand for, I want to get along with people. I want to learn from people. I want to be part of that big team of humanity, not a specific team where I can't get along with the other team. I just think that's unproductive.
So let me ask you this. What advice could you give the people that feel like they have to be on that team to always root for their team?
Don't be on a team. Try hard to not be on a team.
Yeah.
I mean,
I love that.
It's just, we're all in this game together, right? This game called life. And, I just don't see where it serves a purpose to be so wrapped up into your own ideology that you just will not listen to the other person.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of wisdom out there. Where that wisdom comes from might be in the most unexpected places. And if you're not listening,
100%,
you're going to miss it.
You have no idea how many people I meet. And that has been like an obstacle for me because I talk for a living. So people expect you to talk.
Yeah.
But now it's like, I want to spend more time listening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's tough because people expect me to take over the conversation because of what I do and stuff like that. But the old cliche, you learn more when you listen than when you talk.
You don't learn when your mouth's moving.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Great advice, Joe. And that's exactly why I had you guys come over and talk about New Year's. Like everybody just wants to sit around and make all these, resolutions but 80% of them fail by February.
Yep.
No matter what you do, what you put your mind to, and I think it's important for people to just listen to small stories from us sitting here right now, because if we can do it and we found a way to overcome certain obstacles, then they can as well. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I don't want to be 80% of people that fail.
Right.
I want to be the 20% that succeeds. And I just keep chopping away a little bit every single day. You know what I mean? I don't go, hey, oh my God, I'm going to lose 100 pounds I don't need to lose 100 pounds. But you know what I mean? It's like, I don't put those ridiculous goals out there either.
Yeah, you got to chop them up into small, achievable chunks, right?
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this. What would you be most happy about completing this year?
Well, for me, certainly would be completing the book.
The book, yeah.
But again, I'm not going to get wrapped up in the completion of it as long as I meet my goals, that I work on it X hours per week, every week.
So do you journal doing that stuff?
I do.
Yeah.
I keep just a little check marks,
Yeah.
I love that. I got a list of a number of check marks, and I check them off.
Now, do you have somebody that holds you accountable as well?
Mm-mm.
Just you?
Just me.
Do you need any? Some people say that they need people to.
I've read that. Like a lot of people say, put their weight on Instagram because they want to be held accountable to it. I don't feel that I need to. I had a number of goals last year, and I missed on all of them by a smidge. And that's okay. That's okay.
But you're a better person because you tried.
I tried like hell. And again, getting back to the first thing we talked about.
Were you joking though when you just said that?
No, not at all. No. One of my goals, it was just a stupid goal. I try to keep my brain going. So I tried to do 500 calculus problems over this past year. I did 484. So I'm pretty happy with that, right?
That's great. What a loser. He only did 484 calculus
Wow.
problems. No, I'm just joking. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Does that motivate you when you look at something and you look at that number, 484, and you're like, man, if I just sat down for 3 hours to knock that out?
Yeah, not really.
Or were you just happy with the 485?
That's close. And the whole goal wasn't to do 500
Right, of course.
The whole goal was to keep my brain going.
Well,
learn new things.
Isn't that a life lesson, though, for everybody listening right now for 2023 is don't give up. And if you don't make it, who cares?
Who cares? Right.
You still tried.
I worked towards the goal. I never gave up on it. Just ran out of time. Right.
Yeah.
It's like, what's that old adage? We didn't lose. We just, we were behind when the time ran out.
How about you, Bill?
So, Johnny, can I go back and change my first answer?
Yeah,
if
please.
we can't fail, I want to learn calculus.
Yeah, not me.
I don't think I could get to 4.
Let me ask you guys this then. Pick 3 words to describe this past year. And before you guys answer, I'm going to answer this one because I think it's very important for those words are important. And I wrote down 2. The first one is know your worth.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is in your life, know your worth. And the second one is literally just the word outstanding, patience, and focus.
Great.
So
what do you mean by patience?
Well, for me personally, I'm the kind of guy that just wants to get things done. I come up with an idea. I want to get things done, but I realize that, listen, if it sits there for a week or sits on the shelf for 2 weeks, don't get bent out of shape about it.
Yeah.
I'm so focused on getting things done that I forget to have fun.
Yeah. And sometimes the idea gets better if you let it ruminate a little bit.
100%.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a good drink or a good bottle
Right
of
on.
wine or a good
Right.
whiskey.
Right.
Not that alcohol has anything to do with anything, guys. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
But how about you, Joe?
Well, can I have a mulligan and get 4 words?
Yeah,
right.
I'll give you 4.
I would say
He's always breaking the rules.
these 4 words. Better than I deserve. And what I mean by that, I had a really good year. When I hear, somebody's story like Bill that's lost 2 people very close to him, nothing like that happened to me.
Right.
I just had a really good year. It's about mindset too, right? I could tell you, oh, what a crappy year. I could tell you about my stock portfolio this past year. That would, bring me to tears. But I'm not going to dwell on that. I mean, it took a beating. I lost more money than my wife and I earned combined, but I don't care.
Right.
I don't care.
Yeah.
We had a great year. I mean, we were healthy. We did a lot of fun things. Our son got married. Good year. So I'm not going to complain,
So they always say that life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you react to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important.
My wife and I were talking last night, and I said, on Christmas Day, I was complaining to my brother-in-law. I had a long story short. I had a rental car for 7 weeks, and this rental car was the biggest pile of crap I've ever driven in my life. And I was on Christmas Day. I'm telling my brother-in-law all about these stupid little problems with this rental car, and then I just stopped myself and thought, man, if that's the worst thing I'm complaining about, I've had a pretty darn good year. So
at least you had a car.
Yeah, no complaints. I got a roof over my head, food in the belly, job I love going to, great family, friends. Life is good.
Isn't that funny when and it doesn't matter what you have, where you are in life, as long as you're happy. I know that people that don't have money in the bank will say, wait, but you don't know what it's like. I do know. First of all, I have followed a dream, and I know what it's like to be broke. But I was broke and unhappy. To be broke and happy, I would take that over having money any day, because I know so many people that have so much money and they are miserable.
Yeah.
And in my point to any of this, I know we're kind of going off, a different way, but if you're listening to this and you say to yourself, well, I need more money to be happy, you need to find something else to be happy about and not let it be the money.
Agreed.
Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah.
So you got 4. How about you, Bill?
Well,
3 words.
Stay on your thing for just a second. I think one thing that I've learned this past year is, and it's a little metaphysical, but so when the people focus on the fact that they, don't have the money, then the universe kind of responds to that, and you keep getting what you're seeing. I'm saying I don't have money. I'm thinking I don't have money. I'm behaving as though I don't have money. So all these things, how can you possibly get in that mindset?
Yeah.
So they have to shift over to this mindset so they actually feel like they have abundance. So it's not, I might not have money, but I have a family. I have people I care about, and I have this, and I have that, and I have a thing that I'm passionate about. And so if all that shifts, then the universe kind of responds and starts rewarding you in a sense. That these things start appearing. Then you start having abundance because you're already living in it. So in a sense, we're kind of getting what we put out. We're kind of like getting a mirror response.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I love that
because
because it's so true though.
Yeah.
It's really like, I mean, when you're talking, I was just thinking to myself, fake it until you make it. I mean, I literally had the business card that said motivational speaker before I gave one talk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And,
Right.
and I had to fail 40 some times, or maybe not fail, but work on my craft till I
Sure.
got paid for it, which was 40 times, getting up and speaking for free. So sometimes, just like Bill said, you have to have that mindset. I mean, you can't pay your bills. I get it. You can't pay your bills with a great attitude, but you can do a lot. What's that old cliche? You can teach a man, wait, what is it about fishing?
Oh, you can teach a man to fit. Wait, you
Yeah,
feed
it's
a
like
man
you
a
get-
fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a
that's
man
it.
to fish, you feed him for a lifetime.
So many people miss out on that opportunity. And I believe personally, the younger generation, they're always looking for that next best thing instead of sticking with one thing and making it work.
Yeah.
So many people just want to go for that quick buck.
So there's one thing that I've always admired about you, Johnny, and what you do in your life, and it's your passion to motivate. And then when you think about how arrogant it is to think, like, well, who am I to motivate somebody? Like, think about that. Like, what am I going to tell somebody to change their
My
life?
dad told me that all
He
the time, Bill.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I have that respect for what you do, because what I've seen on the other end is that it is like magic that they could walk in a room before you speak and they could leave motivated. And it's like, literally what happened? When you think about it, what happened? Is it magic? Is it voodoo? I mean, like what is it? It's motivation. I mean, you literally can change lives, get people to just like flick that switch in their brain.
Yeah.
And so you spend your life helping other people basically like turn the switch on in their brain to, it's like, to believe.
Yeah.
Yep.
My life can be different tomorrow.
Yeah.
My life
Yeah.
could be different and the drop of a hat,
And that's why both of you are sitting here today talking about 2022 and what we're going to do in 2023. And I know you're writing a book. Do you read a lot as well?
I read a lot.
So
I read
let me ask you
ridiculous
guys this then. What were some of the best books you read this past year?
Well, boy, I've read so many, and so many of them are really great. But the one that sticks out the most is called The Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter.
Okay.
I heard about him on a podcast. I read the book. It was fantastic. The gist of it is that we are evolved creatures. We've evolved through the process of hunting and gathering. We're designed to be under stress, right? We're designed to be under physical and mental stress. And the lives we now lead have very little in terms of physical and or real mental stress. And as a result, we're poorly conditioned for these artificial stresses. I don't mean to belittle the stresses that people feel, but the stress of looking at social media and feeling inadequate is an artificial stress compared to wondering where your next meal is going to come from when you miss the hunt.
Right.
So the gist of the book is that you need to put yourself under some physical stresses. You need to put yourself under some mental stresses. And this was really interesting. You need boredom. You need to be bored at times. That's where your innovation comes from. That's where your introspection comes from. And we almost never do that, right?
100%.
If I sit there, I'm like starting to get a little bored. I reach right into my pocket. I grab that phone and I start rifling through articles or Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, that's another New Year's resolution. Spend a little time being bored.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
I love
one.
that. How about you, Bill?
I like that one. I mean, I hate to admit this. I'm actually into more of a what I call the rabbit hole. I start off. I'll watch probably like 30 different YouTube videos on a subject, and then I will narrow it down to like 4 or 5 books, and then I'll read like 5 or 6 specific chapters in 4 or 5 different books.
All right, that's all right.
So I go backwards. Like I don't read like one book. I go down these rabbit holes.
Yeah.
But and then I'll actually get out like big boards and like make notes on all these, because then my brain just starts going like, and then I heard something in one and I'll tie it together, and then for months I can just like, go back to any rabbit hole and start putting all the ideas, the pieces together. It's sort of like a big puzzle, but so I've read a lot of books, but not actually all the way through.
Nice, yeah. Well, that was one thing that I thought about last year, and I wanted to sit down and read more. I am a lot like you, Bill. I have 4 or 5 books in my living room, or I'll take on the road with me, and I'll read a little bit from each one, just because of there are 4 different kinds of books, and I get something totally different out of them when I need something different that day. But one of them is that I've been reading a lot, and I just absolutely love this book, and it's called What a Long Strange It's Been, and it's by Dr. Jeffrey Neal. And Dr. Jeff, he was a teacher. He was in education.
I remember this book.
Yeah, he was. The guy was on my podcast.
Okay.
And he's actually going to be on again, talking a little bit more about it. But it's kind of set up the same way as your book, Joe. And that is, every chapter is a new story.
Yeah.
So you can jump into it at any time, and you don't feel like, oh, I have to go back and read this because it's a new story. But just a great, great book that I looked at the book, and it was like, I don't know, 500 pages. Matter of fact, it's right here. So when you sent it to me, I was like, I haven't read a book this big in a long time. But it's one of those books that you cannot put down.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is today, Joe, this is a brand new book. I'm going to gift this to you.
All right. Well,
and then what I want you to do after you're done reading it is not to keep it. I want you to re-gift it to somebody else.
All right. Fair enough. I can do that.
Very cool.
Nice present for
Great.
2023.
Thank you.
Not that you don't have enough books, but great book.
You can never read too much.
And that's one of those things that just for me is I'm so high strung to sit down and read.
Mm-hmm.
Now I enjoy it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, and I get done, and I'm like refreshed.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's almost this is weird, but it's almost like going to the gym and working out.
Yeah.
Is to sit down and read. Let me ask you guys this. In what ways or way did you grow emotionally? And while you guys are thinking about that, I wrote down, for me personally, don't let the small things bother me. So many people get so worked up, including myself, that it's like one of those things that I tried all year, and I'm going to try even harder this year is, don't sweat the small stuff.
Right.
It's all small stuff.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say that it's just that easy, but it really is.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I guess I look at it the same way, and I do that much too frequently. Is I let the things that are out of my control bring me down, and I've done a lot better at it, but I still have a long way to go. And it's really just comes down to the wisdom of understanding what is in your control and what is not in your control. And my wife's a great corrector of me on this. Where I'll get fired up because of something somebody else is doing, and she's like, why do you care? Like, why do you care? It has nothing to do with you. You're getting fired up over something that doesn't affect you in any way, shape, or form. What's the point? And I always take a step back and like, yep. You're right.
And we hate when they're right.
Yeah. Not really. Not really. No, she's good for me.
Yeah. Guys, what was the most challenging part of your work, both professionally and at home?
Yeah, in my work, I guess it's it's that right back to what we were just talking about is understanding what is in your control and what's not in your control, right? And I'm unfortunately around a lot of people that they're not doing well, right? They're sick. A lot are heading towards the end.
And for those of you that don't know, Joe is a nurse.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have been more clear about that. But yeah, people that are sick. And, it's easy to let their problems get you down. But you just have to look at whether the glass is half full, the glass is half empty. And the half full part is I can help them, as you were talking about, Bill, hope. I can help them hope.
Yeah.
Be compassionate, be empathetic, do the best I can to make their experience with me as positive as possible, without letting it bring me down, right?
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we're all ultimately facing the same end. We're all going to meet our end.
Yep.
Some sooner than others. And I meet so many people that are, hopefully, in theory, a lot closer than I am. And it's just, I want to enjoy all the moments I got left and not dwell on what is inevitably going to come
because
true.
I mean, if you think about that, I mean, when a nurse or a doctor walks into your room at the hospital, they feed off your energy. They're looking at you as, you're the one that's not sick.
Yeah.
I don't want to come in, I don't want to hear your crap.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that's also, I admire what you do because of that. It's my daughter ended up, like in the last couple of weeks of her life, she's mostly in the hospital. And so when you don't know what day you're checking out,
Yeah.
that time you have with those nurses, I mean, that is their last minutes, their last moments with people on earth. And we were fortunate enough to have so many that just cared, that they were aware of the situation, like you're saying, and even if they can't give you that long-term hope, they can at least, they were getting her through the day. And so it's very important to approach it like you want to, because it makes all the difference in the world that someone's only got a few days left.
Yeah.
You might be the last person they're actually spending that time with, and that's a good way to look at it.
For me, it's kind of crazy, but the traveling part of my job, I spend so much time in airports and going from point A to point B that was probably the most challenging part of my year and for the last 20 years, but to learn how to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you spend so much time layovers, this and that, and and it takes a lot. I love what I get to do for a living.
Yeah.
I love the time on stage. I always tell people, you don't pay me to go and motivate your people.
Yeah.
You pay me to travel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, airports are interesting places, though, aren't they? I mean, they stress me out. Don't let me kid you. I mean, I don't enjoy them. I used to travel for a living as well. But now that I'm out of that, I'm rusty, and it all makes me nervous, brings me a level of anxiety that I would prefer to not have. But when I'm sitting there checked in, ready to go, ready to board a plane, I love sitting there and watching people. The airports are some of the most fascinating places to 100%. Just people watch.
And just real quick, for those of you that want to learn more about Joe, go back into the Outstanding Life podcast archives, and there is a podcast talking about Joe's life. I mean, it is an amazing podcast. So again, Joe Downing, the podcast right here on Outstanding Life podcast. Go listen to it. Guys, what's the biggest thing you've learned this past year? And this was kind of deep, but for me, I think that the biggest thing that I learned this past year is that the quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. And it's kind of funny because that's exactly what I think that we've been talking about for the last 40 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. How about you, Bill? What do you say about that one?
I mean, I'm right there with him on that. How you think about it is definitely going to be the driving force for me. It's I don't know, it's different. I had to adapt to grief, so I now have a. I say I have a like a partner. I have grief is now my constant companion. So, and I don't know when it's going to get triggered, but it's just waiting for something to get triggered.
It's always lurking.
Yeah. So I think, honestly, getting to deal with it and not listening to anybody else. And the only one thing I've tried to help share with others is that your grief is personal. I mean, it's people have got to handle it their own way.
Yeah. Sorry you had to go through all that. That's tough. Yeah, I mean, mine would just go back to, what we talked about
Yeah.
before about the small.
It's
small
kind of funny.
identity. Yep.
Like everything is coming full circle.
Yeah. But I had, I was reading one of Jonathan Haidt's books, and this quote he quoted in his book was from some 5th century Buddhist philosopher, but it just made me think about the small identity thing. And he says that the perfect way is only difficult for those who pick and choose. Do not like, do not dislike. All will then be clear. Make the hairbreadth difference, and heaven and earth are set apart. If you want the truth to stand before you, don't be for or against. The struggle between for and against is the mind's worst disease.
Whoa.
So again, before and against, be for something, be against something. Just be patient.
Yeah.
Listen. Be
Wow.
open to new ideas.
That's pretty awesome.
Well, for me on that point, I think this is a critical point that you're making, and you made it earlier in terms of like being open to other people's, and I think because what we're not really seeing and what people don't really understand is that there's a division in the country for a reason, and there's a lot of push on this. So it's not like by accident. You didn't just wake up and think, gee, it'd be nice to just take her side.
Yeah.
I'd love to wear a red hat today. I really want to lean to the right.
Yeah.
And I want to get very, very conservative. All these things are being pushed.
Yeah.
And so all these deep fears, and the problem is everything, whether they're selling you makeup or I'm selling you politics, they got to get down to the deep-rooted part of your brain to deal with the fear.
Yeah.
Because I want you to feel all this anxiety, and I want you to feel all this
Yeah.
stress.
No,
So the way that you're
agree.
talking about it there is it's so important that this year truth has to matter.
Yeah.
And at some point getting to realize how do I separate from their crap?
It's
honestly,
a difficult challenge.
This thing that I'm
unfortunately.
hearing about how we're so divided, it's like you
Yeah.
go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
It's not like that out here.
No,
Jack.
it's not. You're right. You're right.
It's
You're
not
right.
like this out here.
No.
In fact, that's the one thing I would like to do this year is get on something and be able to scream it's not like that.
Yeah.
This is not our real America.
Yeah, I
Real
agree.
America's different colors.
Yes.
And all different types of people.
Yep.
And guess what? We're all being very polite to each other.
Right. Right. You're right. Yeah.
Guys, in 2022, what was one of your favorite movies that came out that you went and watched?
So does this have to be a 2022 movie, or can it just be
No,
a
just
movie
something you
we
watched. Yeah.
So this one caught me totally off guard because Teresa and I, we go watch a lot of movies. We're just enjoy movies tremendously. But Cruella. So when she told me we were going to watch this, I'm like thinking back to the movie with Glenn Close from when my kids were little.
Yeah.
With all the Dalmatians, and it was obviously based on that story, but it was just so well done with Emma Thompson and Emma Stone. So
I'm trying not to laugh at Joe because I just what was that, a Disney movie?
Yeah, it was, but the two great parts about it. One, it's about the story of revenge. Revenge, they say revenge is sweet. Well, it's just not, right? And that's what the underlying message of the story was. Revenge is not sweet, number one. And number two, movies as art. Right. And I've never seen a movie that had music interjected at appropriate times better than this movie did. Any movie that can use Iggy Pop is all right in my book.
Very nice.
I love that. For me, I guess, when I thought about this, it would have to be Top Gun. I felt like a
It was a cool
teenager
movie.
walking back in there, the the girl that I took was my high school sweetheart. I mean, it was like one of those things. It was like
Nostalgia,
it couldn't be any more perfect.
That's cool.
Than going to see
I
Top
enjoyed
Gun.
that one as well.
It
was a very
very
good
cool.
movie. Yeah.
How about you, Bill? Did you see any?
I didn't get to get out to many movies, but one of the favorite, I actually watched a series more. Well, I had a favorite series called 1893, and it was a spinoff of the show Yellowstone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is that the one Tim McGraw was in?
Yeah, exactly. That was amazing. They got me right from the beginning, and I related to the thing because one of the lead characters, it starts the show by the guy's lost his wife and daughter from a disease or something that back then, and so. But anyway, it just and they just had their foot to the gas through the whole show. So it was really good, and I waited for every episode, and except the well,
Oh,
it's
I'll
not
have
a
to look
spoiler
at it.
now, but the girl at the end dies. And she was narrating the thing. So, to this
Spoiler
day,
alert.
well, to this day, I still haven't been able to watch the last episode. because-
So did you binge watch the whole thing,
I
or
did
did you
binge.
wait for them to come out?
Well, I binge watched like to a point, and then they weren't all out at that point. So then I waited, but then the last one came out, and I just couldn't watch it.
Yeah. Guys, the biggest lesson that you've learned this past year, and I'm just going to go first on this
Okay.
one, and that is, I wrote down a couple things, and that is walk your own path. And it goes back to what I said earlier, know your worth, but for you, whatever you're planning on doing, walk your own path. Another thing that I learned this past year is if you're younger and listening to this, take care of your health earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Which so many people say that later on in life, but if you have the opportunity, take care of your health now. Another one I wrote down is live and let live. And good things don't come easy.
Yeah, that's very good. I guess one of the biggest lessons I learned is that you can have a tremendous amount of joy in your life from seeing other people have joy in their lives.
100%.
And
I just got goosebumps.
one of the most beautiful moments of my entire year was my son got married this year, and we were in the hotel the morning after their wedding, and my new daughter-in-law at that point, somebody just asked her, "So how's it going?" She's just like, it's so funny because my son's sitting next to her. She drug him out of bed. I mean, he was so obliterated. I mean, he was so hungover, just a zombie. And she's just like, that was the best day of my life. And I thought, man, that's the way it should be. Your
Right.
wedding day should be the best day of your life. And just the joy I had from seeing the fun that they had and just seeing how wonderful that day was for them. It's like, oh, man, it was just great.
That
just great.
that just took me back a little bit, and I'll never forget taking my daughter to Cedar Point when she was a kid, and she used to say, "Dad, why are you not riding the rides with me?" I said, "Dad's having more fun sitting here watching you and your girlfriends ride the rides
Yeah.
than you would ever imagine."
Yeah.
And people
Yep.
don't realize that. I love seeing people happy.
Yeah. And
know?
sometimes it's even just strangers.
It's-
when you're
it's
seeing
one-
just seeing a person you don't even know that are just
Yeah.
having a moment. Just
I do that
it's
every day,
great.
especially with the whole, outstanding.
Yeah.
People are like, "Hey, how are you?" Outstanding. And people go, "Oh
Yeah.
my, what kind of drugs is this guy
Yeah.
on?" You know what I mean? And they're
Yeah.
like, "Wow, are you really, really feeling that way?"
Yeah.
I'm like, 100%, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Wow."
Yeah, sometimes it's just that little interaction with the person working behind the counter in the gas station, or your waiter, or table server at a restaurant, or your bartender, or whatever the case may
Yeah.
be. Just those interactions in life, and just trying to make somebody's day brighter, or them making your day brighter. Man, that's just one of the best parts of life.
Best advice you received this year?
Yeah. So again, I hate to keep beating on the same thing, but man, I just love that. Well, you know what? Let me switch it up a little bit. So this, can take me a couple of minutes. I'll make it as quick as I can. But again, it came from a podcast, and I'm a big fan of Jordan Peterson. But there's a lot of stuff that he says that just drives me out of my mind. I mean, he picks fights that I think are unnecessary. But my wife had me watch this one podcast where he was talking with this scholar. That it was a scholar of Islam. And they were talking about religion back and forth. And, for those of you that don't know Jordan Peterson, he's a very cryptic on what he really believes in terms of religions. And this Islamic scholar is saying to him, if I were to show you objective proof that Muhammad is the greatest of all prophets, would you convert to Islam? And before Jordan Peterson could answer, I'm like, well, that's a good, if there's an objective truth to prove, I'm an objective truth sort of guy.
Yeah.
To prove that your religion's right, I would convert. Jordan Peterson said, no, I wouldn't. And he said, because there are some truths that are worth more than objective truths. And he said, I would put more weight on the truth of the practitioners, on the actions of those that practice the religion, than on the objective truth. And I thought, man, that was good. That was
Yeah.
some good advice, about the actions of the practitioners.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Wow.
So, guys, with just a couple minutes left, I want to end this podcast with showing people how they can improve themselves this year. We kind of went through and talking about what we did last year, the goals and stuff that we set for ourselves. Let me ask you guys this. How should people improve themselves. And we're going to end the podcast with this, and I'll say a couple, then you guys can jump in here. But, one, I would say meditate, not medicate.
Yeah.
Meditate. Set goals. And I know you hear this all the time, but I mean, set real goals. Read daily. Just like I know, Bill, you brought that up. I brought it up. Joe brought it up. Read daily, even if it is just a little bit, even if it is just a paragraph, you'll love it. I promise you. Judge less, eat healthy. And Joe, I'll let you go ahead.
Well, there's a great book. It's called Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends Upon It, which it really does.
Right? Yeah, 100%.
Wake up early, get at it. Keep track of what you're doing, right? Keep track of what you're doing. Write down your goals. Write down your progress towards your goals.
So important.
And if you got some habits that you need to change, well, put a new habit in their place.
100%. Bill?
Yeah, I'd start off with, like you were saying, meditate, definitely, because prayer and meditation, it's all the same. And everything is all about looking within. And the most important to me would be loving yourself. Because honestly, I think more people have stories in their past of mistreatment or whatever. And I think we spend very little time as a society training people how to love themselves. So I think if you could go into 2023 learning how to love yourself, meditate, and breathe. Pay attention to the fact that you're very unaware of your own breath, that our breath is something that's just involuntary. It's just something we do, but you can control your thoughts, emotions, and everything through the way that you breathe.
I love that.
Yeah, and then also have a vision. It says create a vision board. Have a vision for what you'd like to see happen, how it would benefit your life.
Those are so important.
Yeah.
Vision boards are awesome.
Yeah.
Start a new routine. Learn how to invest. Don't make excuses. Stop procrastinating. Review your finances. So important for this year. Focus on the positive. Joe?
Change your attitude. A positive attitude goes a long way. And when you really think about what it is that we can control in life, our attitude is one of the very few things that we have complete control over. And one day at a time, right?
I love that.
One day at a time.
I'd say believe in yourself. It goes back to loving yourself, but belief and believing that you can do anything that you have vision and have success or unsuccess, but passion for that you could do. And big one, don't compare yourself to others. This is the Instagram and TikTok and all that.
So important.
It's set up to put the best life that's not actually real forward. So don't compare yourself to Instagram lives.
Another one for me is leave your comfort zone. Stop being comfortable. Do something that makes you uncomfortable. See failure as opportunity. Just like Bill said, create a vision board. Make a bucket list. I think it's important for people to make a bucket list. Joe, go ahead.
I'm going to add one to your bucket list. How about an unbucket list?
Oh,
Getting rid of
that's
some
real
things
good.
that are not adding value to your life.
100%.
Vices.
It's great to have a bucket
bad
list.
habits.
It's great that it takes them off that list.
Absolutely. And the thing that I think has added more value to my own happiness than anything else is a practice of gratitude.
Ooh, good one.
Take the time to say, hey, this is what I got to be grateful for today, whether it be the people around you, just the fact that you have a roof over your head, that you got a meal in your stomach, friends that you're talking to, much like we are doing right now. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful for this moment.
Yeah, me too.
I love that. Another one for me is focus on a passion. Have a passion. Not the way you look. That's not what I'm talking about. But, work out and feel good. Not to be thinner. It is good to just go out for a walk, not to lose weight or do anything else. To get out, start working out. I promise you that makes you feel good. Stop gossiping. I know people say that all the time, but that's another thing that just drives me crazy, and people need to, do less of it. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, eat healthy is fantastic. I was eating healthy a lot with my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, was the kind of vegetarian, and you can make anything taste amazing. And then along that line, though, is to also think and be healthy before you actually get there. So it's not an actual goal to me to like you said, it's not like lose 100 pounds. It's to start small. Start where you're at and start thinking healthy, start being healthy, and then everything will start to show. It's kind of like backwards.
Give a compliment every single day to somebody, to a random person, maybe somebody in your house.
That's a big one, Johnny. My daughter used to do that, and I didn't know that until later on. And I happened to mention that she liked glasses, and then I've got like a ton of people telling me how she used to compliment them every day, and she'd see them at work, and people at the store, she'd comment on their nails, and it actually made people feel fantastic.
I love that.
Bill, just to take a step back here, when John said to focus on your passion and not the way you look, do you believe for 1 minute that his passion isn't the way he looks? Look at him, man. The guy's like a vision.
To be fair, I've said this about him before. If I looked like him, I'd be in a lot of trouble.
And one last thing, call a friend.
Paul Newman eyes and everything going there.
Call a friend instead of texting them.
Yeah.
So many people, I'm just going to end this with this, and that is pick up the phone. So many people these days forget that a phone call, is so important, man. I mean, I know that there's a time and a place to text somebody, but pick up the phone and just call somebody. And if they're busy, leave a message. I know, Joe, I do it to you all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, I'm just thinking about you. Bill, I do it to you as well. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But it's one of those things.
Can I share one? He does call me on my birthday, and he actually sings "Happy Birthday" to me. And I got to tell you, a lot of times it's meant more than I ever told you, just because it's just so. I know, because he's normally in some other town doing all these important things, and here he's calling me, telling me happy birthday.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I can't thank you enough for hanging out, talking about last year, giving some people some hope for this year. And thanks again, Joe Downing. And those of you, again, go back, listen to Joe's podcast, get to know, his story is amazing. Bill, again, you seems like you're a regular right now. It's like being home these last couple of months. It's kind of nice to, share the platform with other people. Again, everybody, I'm Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy, telling you, be safe, have fun, and have yourself an outstanding day. We'll see you next week right here on the Outstanding Life Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Outstanding Life Podcast. Follow Johnny D on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Motivational Cowboy. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the show, advertise, or would like to make a donation, please visit motivationalcowboy.com. And remember to have an outstanding day.
Hey, I'm Johnny D, the Motivational Cowboy. Are you planning a conference, convention, meeting, assembly, or any live event that needs a guest speaker? I would love to be a part of it. For more information, visit motivationalcowboy.com. And don't forget to check out my Outstanding Life podcast every Sunday here on Dirt Road Radio, KYDT 103.1 FM and KBFS 1450 AM. Have an outstanding day.